there's nothing more important than resource prioritization when it comes to a small business. You have to make payroll. You have to make the bread for tomorrow's production, or you need to do whatever, all the million things you have to do. And so cybersecurity is just one piece of that.
Hello and welcome back to Practical Cybersecurity. I'm Jen Stone. I'm one of the principal security analysts here at Security Metrics. Very excited about today's topics. It is NIST for small businesses. Yes, this can happen. And we have Daniel Eliot here from, he's the lead for small business engagement within the National Institute of Standards and Technology, NIST, Applied Cybersecurity Division. I would love to start by learning a little bit about your background, your career journey, how your experiences other places kind of have shaped your approach at NIST.
Yeah, so I worked for the Small Business Development Center, where I was helping small businesses start and scale. Back in 2014, NIST published this newfangled thing called the NIST Cybersecurity Framework. And I was like, this is a great resource, but how do we apply it to small businesses? And so we got a grant from the SBA and developed a small business resource and a whole program to help small businesses in Delaware kind of improve their cybersecurity using language that a small business owner that's not a technical expert, not a cybersecurity technical expert, could understand.
I love that. I think there's a big misconception out there that NIST can't be used or shouldn't be used for small and medium businesses. Could you give us like an overview? What is NIST, first of all?
NIST is part, as I said, of the U.S. Department of Commerce, and we develop cybersecurity and privacy standards and guidelines and best practices and resources to really meet the needs of U.S. industry. Tying it back to small business, we actually have two kind of taskings from Congress that task NIST with creating voluntary free resources that small businesses can use to improve their cybersecurity risk management. In response to that, we created the NIST Small Business Cybersecurity Corner, which is a website that houses, I think at this point, well over 70 different resources, all tailored to small businesses. And they include short videos, tip sheets, case studies, quick start guides, organized by both topic and by industry.
That's just kind of erased a couple of the myths that I hear all the time, which is NIST is for businesses that are specifically related to the government, really only, which I don't think is true.
All of our resources are available to any organization. Really, anybody could take that and use it to make improvements to their cybersecurity risk management or privacy risk management or whatever it is. Yeah.
Maybe can you just give us a high level understanding of what the CSF is?
The CSF, the Cybersecurity Framework, is free, voluntary framework to help organizations, regardless of your size, your sector, your cybersecurity maturity, to help you better understand, assess, prioritize, and I want to come back to that word prioritize, and communicate about cybersecurity efforts. It's organized into 6 high-level functions of govern, identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover.
It sounds like you provide actionable, small chunk resources that small businesses can apply to their organizations.
Yeah, I recognize. I'm one of the people that said, hey, NIST, this cybersecurity framework is too big for a small business. And so when I joined, one of the first opportunities I got was to develop a small business quick start guide for the Cybersecurity Framework 2.0. And what it does is it extracts a lot of key insights and key steps that a small under-resourced organization could realistically achieve. Now, that's not to say it includes everything, because when we say small business, that really is quite diverse, right? That could be a mom and pop shop, hardware store in a local community, or that could be a very sophisticated biotech business that is doing, work with the federal government, and so Small business is a very diverse population, but these resources, these primers, really help a small, under-resourced organization who might not have a cybersecurity expert in-house to begin to understand some basic steps they can take to better protect their organization, to make their business more resilient in the face of increasing cybersecurity risks. So when you look at the cybersecurity framework, you might not use all of it. And so that's why the Small Business Quick Start Guide is a useful tool for under-resourced organizations because it helps focus that prioritization, because there's nothing more important than resource prioritization when it comes to a small business, right? You don't only have cybersecurity to worry about. I recognize that. You have to make payroll. You have to make the bread for tomorrow's production, or you need to do whatever, all the million things you have to do. And so cybersecurity is just one piece of that. The cybersecurity framework helps an organization create a structure and a foundation from which you can build out a cybersecurity risk management strategy. And so if I'm a small business, it's like, okay, well, I need to comply with X contractual obligations. I only have limited resources. I only have one staff member who can help me with this, right? So taking into account our regulatory environment, our resources, human capital, et cetera, and building out a cybersecurity risk management strategy that's appropriate for us.
I would love to hear like an example or two of what does this quick start guide recommend. SMB business owner comes along and says, okay, I'm going to give it a shot. What can they expect from that?
Yeah, so the quick start guide it provides a subset of cybersecurity outcomes from the big CSF. And so in that subset are really some of the ones that as I was building it, I thought a small business should be prioritizing. And as we socialized it, I got concurrence from small business stakeholders. And so some of those examples would be, right, within governance. Do we have someone in our organization who is responsible for cybersecurity risk management, right? And making sure that we're meeting our legal regulatory requirements, that our staff are being trained, that we're documenting some of those requirements, that we understand how cybersecurity can impact our mission, right? If I'm just an e-commerce company, gosh, if my e-commerce platform goes down because I didn't patch it or I didn't update my software, now a cyber criminal has taken advantage of me not patching that software and I don't have access to my e-commerce platform. And that's the main way I run my business. That right there is a huge impact to my business. If I'm an intellectual property attorney, right? Maybe I'm a solo IP attorney and a criminal accesses my customers' IP records. That's a huge, right, no for my business. So do we understand what the most critical assets for our business are so that we can then understand the appropriate safeguards to protect them? Because when it comes back to that prioritization, small businesses get overwhelmed and they think, I need to do everything all at once. I need to protect everything at the same level. And I need to just take a moment and first recognize who's responsible, who's going to take the lead for this. Because if everyone's responsible, nobody's responsible. There are our most critical assets that we need to be protecting first. Start, and then how do we begin to protect them, right? So it's an iterative process. It's cyclical because technologies change, our businesses change. So we have to come back to cybersecurity risk management every now and then and understand if we're still protecting what we need to protect. But I think those are some of the pieces that are in the Small Business Quick Start Guide.
Excellent. Yet having a guide gives you a way to go back and say, and now I am going to look at these elements and make sure that where are we at with them? Let's start somewhere, right?
That's right. Got to start somewhere.
And sometimes just the act of starting somewhere can be overwhelming if you don't have someone saying, here's your checklist. Here's some advice on starting somewhere. Because once you've started, then you can improve from there. But if you haven't started, things are just going to stay chaotic.
And that's why, I also encourage, even in the quick start guide, we say, find someone who can help you with this, right? And so we're regularly encouraging small businesses to reach out into their local community, whether that is engaging an MSP or MSSP, whether that is looking at, their local chamber of commerce to find a kind of cybersecurity person to kind of help them think through this, because a small business owner, like you said, is wearing so many hats. And cybersecurity is not easy. It is complex. And so finding someone who can help you with this, if you don't feel comfortable doing it yourself, find someone who can help you do that.
Absolutely. What do you say to groups that are like, well, I've started something, I just don't know how well we're doing. When do I know if I'm successful at this or not? What's a good, successful cybersecurity program look like?
Yeah, continuous improvement is a successful cybersecurity program, right? Recognizing that it's not a set it and forget it, that we are regularly revisiting our cybersecurity plan. If something happens, who do we turn to? Who do we call, right? What are our first steps? And then we revisit that annually. And so as we continue to grow our business, that business probably gets more complicated as far as our IT infrastructure. And so we want to be sure that we're collecting more data, or we're sending out more data, or creating more data. And so how are we continuing to step back and ask ourselves, are we making a reasonable effort to protect our customer data, our own data and devices?
I love that answer, because that seems like, being aware that there's always something to learn and you can always improve it. It seems like the way to approach.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
I think you're uniquely placed to know, kind of have your ear to the ground on what's going on broadly in terms of cybersecurity, especially among small and medium businesses. What is your sense of doom or hope? Like how are you feeling about SMBs and cybersecurity?
I'll never resort to doom. So there are increasing demands when it comes to legal, regulatory, contractual requirements on small businesses, right? And meeting cybersecurity standards, or insurance. If you want to get cybersecurity insurance, you have to meet certain criteria. And so I look at it as a competitive advantage for small businesses in this environment where you can easily kind of lose your competitive advantage by not taking cybersecurity seriously, particularly with this as much as we rely on the internet and technology to run an efficient, profitable business today. I view it optimistically.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, if you could give one piece of advice to small business owners about cybersecurity, what would that be?
One piece of advice. My piece of advice would be to follow the fundamentals, right? There are some core fundamentals of cybersecurity that even larger organizations get wrong sometimes, like enabling multi-factor authentication, like patching our software, like backing up our data, reviewing administrative privileges so that, I don't have staff who are using admin rights to do day-to-day tasks. When an employee leaves, or when a contractor leaves, or is fired, or whatever else, are you removing access from them at the right time? Before you give employees access to email, are you training them on your expectations for use? Are you teaching them about cybersecurity basics? And these are some fundamentals that really go far in protecting a business of all sizes.
Excellent. I love that you said how important the fundamentals are, especially when you're getting started, but even all the way along. It's sometimes might feel like we're repeating ourselves with, do you have multi-factor authentication? And have you, do you use secure passwords? All of these basic things. But the reason we keep talking about them is because they continue to be important. They continue to be the way that you can prevent cyber attacks from being successfully executed. So
Yeah.
I think that's excellent advice. And anything that we've missed, I want people to definitely go over to the Small Business Cybersecurity corner in NIST, take a look and see what you have out there. But are there any other topics that I didn't quite cover during this conversation?
At NIST, we are continuing to develop small business resources and outreach. And what I'm not trying to do is create a bunch of new kind of top 10 lists or whatever it is on cybersecurity, because there are a lot of resources out there already for small business cybersecurity. What I'm trying to do is create easier pathways into NIST's foundational guidance and resources, resources, and to create opportunities for small businesses to directly engage with us, such as through community of interests that are for small businesses or through events. I'm regularly not only just talking, which I talked a lot on this podcast, but I'm also listening. I want to hear from small businesses. And so if you have particular pain points, if you have particular resources you want to see, part of engagement is not just talking, it's listening. And so I want to represent that part of my job. And that's why I do a lot of events like this, and do a lot of webinars and try to do in-person talks when I can to make sure that I'm continuing to engage with small businesses and understand what they need, and engage with them in meaningful ways. And so I invite listeners to engage and to participate and to let your voice be heard.
Excellent. Well, thank you for spending time with me today and letting people know about the programs that you have going on there. I'm going to go take a second look, and I appreciate your explaining it to our listeners.
Thank you.